It is Socrates who said, by all means marry. If you get a good wife, you'll be happy. If you get a bad one, you'll be a philosopher. Now, obviously, he was speaking to men, but wives can replace that word wife with husbands, because it is the same with women as well. Marriage will teach you things and will expose things even about yourself that you did not know existed. I am Anne Okello of the Family Wise. Welcome to another episode, and today I want to share with you 10 lessons that I've learned from 10 plus years of marriage or in marriage. After 10 plus years of marriage, it'll actually be 11 years in 2 months. There's been a lot of mistakes, growth, and grace. And today I want to share some of them with you. The funny ones, the humbling ones, just keeping it real here. So let's dive in. Number 1, assumptions are the devil's love language. Every time you make an assumption instead of asking, you create a problem that did not exist. And curiosity is one of those most underrated power skills in marriage, because learning to ask the right questions will save you tons and tons of unnecessary arguments. Now, in our first year of marriage, we decided to plunge into this big project that we needed done, and agreed with my husband that every coin we were getting was going into the account, saving for that project. Now, one time I passed by his workplace and we head home together, but my sister and husband are dropping us home, and my husband has this big bag. So as we are seated in the car in the back seat, I'm browsing in the bag and it's full of shoes, and I ask him what's going on, and he says, yeah, I shopped for shoes. Now, each of those shoes had a price tag underneath it, and so for every shoe I'm looking at, anger is rising in me. I am boiling. But remember, my sister and the husband are in the car, so I cannot cause drama. We get home, and when we got in the house, I think he realized I was upset, and he handed me a receipt. Now, where he was working, right next to his shop, his office was a men's shoe shop, and he tells me that this guy was closing shop, and so he had this clearance stock. And as he's passing by, the guy calls him and asks him, what is your shoe size? Now, my husband is a big foot, so it turns out that his shoe size were among those that he was struggling to dispose, or rather to sell off. And so he told him, I'll make you a deal. For every pair that fits you, you can get it for 500 shillings. And my husband grabbed as many shoes as could fit him, because when I was doing the math, the shoes were amounting to about between 120 to 150,000 worth of shoes. And I'm thinking, we were saving. What is going on there? Only for me to realize he only spent 4,000 shillings on these shoes. Shoes that lasted him a long time. I think he even still has 2 or 3 of those pairs. But here is my point. I was about to start a World War III in my house for something that I should have been thanking God for. Assumptions are a dangerous thing. And in fact, if you master clarity in communication, you have already dealt with more than 50% of the potential conflicts in your marriage. So such is a big deal. And unfortunately, nobody trains us to ask the right questions, to seek clarity, and to postpone offense until we have the right facts. Number 2, couples fight ghosts more than they actually realize. 99.9% of the times that you have a fight or an argument, it is not about the thing that you think you're fighting about. It is mostly because of a brokenness, hidden trauma, or just past offenses that now are being triggered. An example is when your spouse comes home late, and they didn't mention, and you're so offended and so angry because they decided to go and have some fun before they come home. Now, the issue is not that they decided to go and have fun. The issue sometimes is maybe authority and power and control, but it could also be a hidden ghost of fear in you from past betrayal. And therefore, when you're not sure of your spouse's whereabouts, a fear in you is triggered of what could be going on that I'm not aware of. Or maybe you wanted your children to go home and spend some time with your mom. You already discussed with your mom. You come and tell your wife and she says no. And you're so upset because she probably had better plans. But you're so upset. It's a fight. It's an argument. But underneath it, what she doesn't know is that there is a ghost that you're dealing with. A ghost of when you're growing up, you didn't feel validated. You felt despised. And now that you're a grown man, you want to prove your authority. How then do you go back to your mother and say, my wife said no? Because the question would be, who is the man in that house? Maybe. So you are just dealing with a past fear of an issue of finances, your spouse overspend, and now you're so upset. But the real issue in that moment is not the fact that they spend, but it is an inner ghost that you carry, a fear of lack, a fear of poverty, and therefore you generally have a problem with expenditure. And nothing makes marriage lighter than people learning to trace and uproot those underlying issues, and so that they can deal with whatever it is that they're dealing with in clarity. I actually have a powerful class that is called Conflict to Connection. Stop fighting and talk like you're married. And in that class, I help people go through self-audit and self-introspection to look at those things that continue to haunt you and continue to be triggered and continue to reveal a part of you that is not healed. Check the description box for the link. I have amazing feedback from people that say, I didn't even know I was dealing with that. Number 3, be very picky when it comes to your battles. Say it differently. Choose your battles wisely. Now, when you read the Bible, you realize that men of the old and the kings, when they went for battle, they came back with spoils. So for every battle they went for, it was worthwhile. There was something to fight for. And that's the same thing with marriage. There's a difference between fighting about, which is such a waste of time, and fighting for. Maybe you're fighting for respect. Maybe you're fighting for better decisions in the marriage. But there's a difference. So learn to pick your fights very wisely by asking yourself, is there a spoil? What is the end goal? For me, it's gotten to a point where I ask myself, is anybody's life at risk? Because if there isn't, we can put the guns down and we can solve whatever it is that we need to solve amicably and with clarity. After all, more than 69% of conflicts in a marriage will never be solved. That has been proven by researchers. So stop wasting your time fighting over everything. Number 4, marriage demands a whole more adaptability than anybody ever tells you. And now I'm telling you, your spouse will evolve, and so will you. You probably got married in your 20s. By your 40s, you're a different person. And sometimes the evolving is a bit too fast that you can keep up with. Sometimes it's too radical that it destabilizes so much that you thought about your marriage and life. You will encounter situations that you probably never prepared for. You got married, both of you are in perfect health, and you find yourself now dealing with a health situation. You got married and both of you are very okay financially, and then one person loses their job or their business, and they take a while to get back on their feet, and you never prepared to be the one that carries the weight of the financial burden of the family for a while, but it has come. Children will come along the way, and you'll be shocked by how extremely your marriage will be flipped over as your priorities, conversations, and even obligations change. Now, this requires a whole different video, but the truth of the matter is marriage requires adaptability, and it requires resilience, because there is no guarantee that things will hold constant to the end. Number 5, you cannot change a human being. Learn to live with whatever it is that you're uncomfortable with, or take it to God. But you cannot change a human being. That is in God's department. Please let God do what he needs to do. Do not take upon yourself frustrating projects that lead nowhere. You cannot change a human being, and I hope you remember that. Number 6, your spouse cannot read your mind. Even if they are a prophet, the gift of prophecy is supposed to serve the house of God and the body of Christ, not to keep guessing what it is that you need and require at whatever seasons or phases of your life. So whatever it is that you need your spouse to handle, speak it out, speak it loudly. If you love flowers for your birthday, say it every birthday until hopefully someday your spouse catches it. If you don't like somebody touching your food like my husband doesn't, giving me a strange look won't do, but speak it out, and hopefully everybody catches up along the way. But stop setting each other up for failure and frustration, because you're not saying what you want and you're expecting the other person to know, and that in itself is a trap, because you're already even angry in advance because you know they will not be able to figure it out. Number 7, marriage is not and will never be 50-50. Ideally, it should be 100-100, but most days marriage will be leaning on extremes. It is 70-30, 80-20, 90-10, and sometimes one person is barely functioning and the other has to carry the weight of the marriage, and that's okay as long as the scale is not constantly tilted on one end, because it means one person is joyriding and one is carrying the entire weight, and that is not sustainable. But Ecclesiastes chapter 4 verse 9 to 10 talks about two being better than one because they have a better return for their labor. But it also says that if either of them falls down, one can help the other up, but pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up, to help them up. Even the Bible acknowledges that there will be moments when one person is down and the other needs to lift them up. Number 8, forgiveness is not optional, and neither is wisdom. You just have to be wise, and you have to forgive. You have to forgive. You have to forgive. You have to forgive. Period. Marriage is two people who are forgivers. And after 10 years, I've learned that you will forgive a lot. Sometimes you will forgive early before breakfast. You will forgive the first thing in the morning, and sometimes the last thing in the day. And that I mean, we don't hold people accountable for their misgivings, but forgiveness is not optional, because your spouse will hurt you and offend you more than any other person, not because they are bad people, but because of the proximity that they have to your feelings and your emotions and the expectations that you have on them. Number 9, intimacy does not happen by accident. The dynamics of sex in marriage are actually very different than people think. It requires intention, it requires safety, sometimes scheduling, yes, real scheduling. So the fireworks will come and fizzle out at the beginning, some struggles in the middle, but for those who are able to endure and have the long mile, eventually you get yourself in a season and in a phase where intimacy comes with a connection that is way much better than the fireworks that you had at the beginning. So it comes a full cycle and even gets better, but it just doesn't happen by accident. And number 10, what you grow feeds, what you starve dies. Good marriages don't just happen. They are built one intention at a time. They're designed, they're nurtured, they're cultivated, they're watered, they're prayed over. Intentionality is a quiet force behind every marriage that is flourishing, that is thriving. And I also have a bonus, number 11, only God is your guarantee. And praying together and praying for your spouse will always be your secret power. Because at the end of the day, you could do everything right by the book and things still do not work. But God, the author and designer of marriage, you hold on to him, you do everything by him, you let him in and have him hold your hands, you're in for a beautiful journey ahead. And for those who are not married, preparation is your advantage. So marriage is a school and you keep learning. But where there is intentionality and both people keep growing, it gets better. Stay humble, stay teachable, stay soft-hearted, and it's a beautiful ride. But foundations really matter. Preparations really matter. And doing it God's way really matters. That's it from me. Comment, share your feedback, share this video with people out there, and most importantly, subscribe, and let's build this community together, a community of people who still believe in family, that are so desiring to build godly families that we are proud of. I am Anokelo. Until next time, God bless you.